session and the paper presenters. First, I would like Sister Imelda Poole, IBPM Loreto, who is from UK, has been on mission in Albania for the past 11 years, working in the field of anti-human trafficking, prevention, awareness, raising advocacy, and direct action. Sister Imelda is the president of RENATE, which is Religious in Europe, networking against trafficking and exploitation. All fields against trafficking in 27 countries of Europe. Our next panelist, Mr. Simit Bhagat. He is the program officer, Asia for Trust Law, based out of their Mumbai office. Simit Bhagat works across the region to support their network of NGOs, social enterprises, in-house councils, and law firms in the region. Our next panelist for today's afternoon session is Dr. Aditi Nam. She is presently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Social Work, Assam University, Silchar. She did her research on partnership between the government and non-government organization of Assam. She is also involved in providing honorary advisory services to the local NGOs. Our next panelist is Dr. Toli Ashwini. She is an assistant professor in Department of Political Science at Lingui Government College, Longland, Nagaland. She obtained her doctoral degree from Nagaland Central University in the Department of Political Science. Last panelist for today's afternoon session is Rajashri Goswami. She is presently pursuing her PhD in Mass Communication in Assam University. Of women empowerment and development development organizations, which focuses on empowerment of women irrespective of their ethnicity, culture, and space, by creating awareness about their rights. Now I would like to call Meenakshi to assist Professor Jorge Majumdar in facilitating for today's afternoon session. Our next panelist to be felicitated is Sister Imelda Poole. For our next panel to be facilitated is Mr. Simit Bhagat. Next goes to Ms. Dr. Aditi Nath. To be felicitated is Dr. Toli Ashwini. And our last is Ms. Rajashri Goswami to be felicitated. So to roll down more for further discussion, I would like to request Professor Joydeep Majumdar to take on it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Participants from different countries, different states, our home state. This is the last session of the today's conference. We have up to 3:30, but 10 minutes before we need to wind up because we have to go to the hall for the valedictory session. They're all eagerly waiting to listen to a legendary professor on the University of Michigan. So it will take another 5-10 minutes to assemble in the hall, and that is why I welcome my panelists. I also request you to restrict your presentation within 15 minutes so that we can get at least half an hour time for interface, some kind of interaction, some clarifications, etc. Okay? The issue is the roles, responsibilities of the NGOs, the civil society organizations in combating past 2 days. We have been here why it is a human rights problem, violation of human rights. In India specifically, the trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation, it is an issue. But the more important is the unsafe migration of forced labor. That is an immediate issue and a very important issue that has to be discussed over here. This is what are the CSOs, NGOs, and how do they address their methodology of working, any good practice that can be shared. So without wasting any more time, I request my first panelist, Sister Imelda Pule, Laredo Sister from Albania. Sister, you to restrict in 15 minutes? Okay, try at this time. I'll give you a signal. Yes.
So good afternoon, I should say, to everybody, and I'd like to just say thank you to Mary Ward International Calcutta for this amazing privilege and invitation to be here in India. It's the most exciting experience for me and a real privilege. Thank you very much. Today, I'd like to share a few issues about human trafficking across Europe, across the world, and maybe a little bit more in particular in Albania. You see in this first picture, the picture of a woman and a child. Today, we're living in a global reality which has more mobility than in any time in history of the world, even more so than in the Second World War. Trafficking is about movement, it's about exploitation, it's about selling the commodity of a human person as a piece of trade. Now I'd like to show you a film that expresses this mobility, the poverty behind trafficking, the issue of the trafficker. It's a very short film. I'd like you to just focus on the same in this film. Thank you.
Natural beauty at the centre of a dark trade. Albania has over 2 decades built up a brutal industry with human beings the commodity. I hate them, and I want them to get the punishment that they deserve. Saya, now still a teenager, was just 14 when she was sold into a trafficking ring by a man she thought was her boyfriend. She was forced to sleep with several men a day and tells of a bewildering and terrifying world of abuse in which she could trust no one. I was there too, but we could not talk to them because we could not tell who was connected to whom. We were terrified and not let us go out, to be controlled by someone, to be used as I was. It's totally degrading. She lives here in a refuge for trafficked women in the south of the country. And some already have children of their own. All have escaped their traffickers. Saya helped put some of hers behind bars. Several convicted traffickers are held here in Culture High Security Prison. Last year, 18 people were sentenced. Some here are serving 20 years or more. The Albanian authorities let us talk to one of them. He was sentenced to 15 years for trafficking children to Greece and forcing them to work as prostitutes or beggars. What made him, a married man with his own children, commit such a crime?
İşte perioda attitude needs to be different.
It was the time that everyone was doing that kind of thing.
You used a child in order to earn some money. Isn't what you did entirely wrong?
It's terrible. What if that were my child and someone did that to them?
He faced justice, but Albania has been criticised for a lack of prosecutions, and there are concerns over police collusion. Some senior figures question whether trafficking is a real problem, but the official line is that there are systems to deal with it.
It's not a big concern as used to be many years ago. We have a system in place that we're working, but it is not an increasing trend. It is a phenomenon that is kind of constant, but it has to be tackled properly and to make all the structures working together.
Away from the modern capital city that all too often traffickers find their victims.
Albania remains a poor country. In many areas, a woman's role is still seen as being in the home. Small town Albania can be easy prey for groomers seduced by promises of a better life.
That better life is invariably outside Albania, but Hannah never dreamt of her fate.
Just like me, if you want to start a family. Yeah.
She is now in a safe house in the UK, duped into leaving home and then sold into prostitution. She weeps throughout our interview, but insists she wants to tell her story.
I was on the ground. I had no sense of the world around me. They would not let me speak. I entered the building blindfolded.
You were raped every day.
Oh, yes, every day.
Many men?
Yes, many.
Anna is now supported in this safe house run by the Salvation Army. She has a baby, which gives her a reason to carry on. Her story should trigger alarm in authorities here and across Europe. A broken life caused by a brutal crime.
So trafficking, as we saw so clearly in that film, is a breakdown of the human rights for every human being that exists in this terrible, terrible trauma of evil crime that they are suffering from the abuse of. It's a loss of dignity, it's a loss of worth, and NGOs, if you like, are in the hot seat for being ahead of the governments, ahead of statutory systems to see what's going on the ground. Our NGOs across Europe that we work with always make research before they begin the work. Research is so important to understand what the survivors, the victims, those who are vulnerable to trafficking really feel and what they really want. We cannot just presume to rush into the field of anti-trafficking without listening for a long time as to what are the needs of these people who are so vulnerable and working step by step to make an impact change. Next few slides, which we'll go through very quickly, you'll be seeing how it is a global phenomenon. The research shows that our women, our girls, our boys are in fact being being traded across many borders, from Albania, from Greece, through Turkey maybe, across the Adriatic to Italy, then across to France, Spain, and into England. We cannot work alone in Europe, just like you in India cannot work alone from state to state, and even from country to country. In fact, we're now moving into such globalization that trafficking must be done together. All the networks cannot be just locally. They need to be more and more combined so that law is equal, law is understanding the difference between migratory laws, false illegal migration, to traffic victims who are in countries illegally but are victims of crime, and so on. But at the moment, many countries are muddying their law because they're not listening to each other. Some laws are changing, some are not. And victims are in the hands of this cross-border conflict of law. And it's just so traumatic for these human beings to be faced by this incredible lack of knowledge, even in countries where they're facing justice, so-called. Then, to look at what are we really doing as NGOs. You know, we are with these women, these boys, these girls, these men who are labour trafficked, and what are we trying to really do? As a Mary Ward sister, which is what I am, my charism is about freedom. It's about justice. It's about truth. It's about allowing a person, every human being, to become the fullest potential of what they were born to become. So, in that sense, every piece of work, whether it's with a survivor, a victim, or a potential victim, is about human worth, human dignity, and enabling through rehabilitation processes or human and economic empowerment to address this issue of full potential for every person that we work with across the border or in our own countries. So what is the strategy? We know about these 3 Ps: prevention, protection, prosecution. If we as NGOs do not work together right across border with statutory and non-statutory systems in each country that we're working with, and even cross border, we fail. Little cocoons, and we don't realise the potential that could be there for achieving fullness of life. If we go and look at a particular story, we will see that a girl will come, say, trafficked on the streets of London from Albania. Her language is very weak. What happens today is that a psychologist from Albania will actually counsel that girl online until she comes out of her trauma. Not always, but this can happen. So what we're looking at is across use of disciplines as well as statutory, non-statutory organisations. Psychologists can actually be used across borders to support victims with possible language problems. All the time we're looking at how we can work together. And now some of the stories of what we do. This is 2 NGOs in Albania. One was set up by Mary Ward Sisters for Roma children. 70% of trafficked children in Albania are Roma children. And here you have on the left our Roma school. And on the right, we have a women's project with the Mary Ward Loreto NGO in Albania. 1,000 women from vulnerable villages and periphery areas of Albania, and all of whom are very, very prone to being trafficked by known relatives or people from the local situation who actually groom the girls into loving what they're offering. It might be a job, it might be marriage, it might be a happy relationship, or going abroad away from the horror of their lives in Albania. The shelters that we work with across the border, in 27 countries we have shelters in all those countries, and many of our members are trying to operate from this basic stand of full potential for every victim, and accompanying them until they have a job and security and independence. And here, of course, you have the psychology support. Again, I won't labour on this because we've already discussed about cross-statutory system support, cross-statutory system working together, the legal, the police, always together, never alone. Story of what would happen. We have an advice centre in Tirana for women working against trafficking. A woman presented herself. She'd been sleeping on the street for 3 days and she was pregnant. Policeman one day and said that her father and mother had thrown her out of the house and she had nowhere to live. What happened? Nobody would take her in. There was no place, no statutory place or non-statutory place for her. So the sisters took her in. This young girl began to kick and bite sisters. She went out of her cell in her trauma, and the only place for her the psychiatric wing of the hospital. And there, our psychologists carried on working, and each time she had a session, a little bit more came out, and eventually she was saying certain things that indicated that she had been trafficked. At that point, that she was able to be given a bed in a shelter when there was medical and psychological proof that she had been trafficked. And this is just one of many, many examples of how girls take time to tell their story, and we need to give them an opportunity to have a safe environment so they tell their story. You can see is isolation. It's isolation and vulnerability and lack of protection. This is our shelter statistics for last year, and it just shows, you can read those quite briefly, but there it shows the physical conditions of the girls and the mental, urinary infections, skin problems, abdominal, renal, oral problems, hepatitis, allergies, gynecological, drug problems, dental problems, hemorrhoids, gastrointestinal, respiratory, eye problems. And in fact, in some of our workshops, you know, a brutal man hitting a person in the face and the tooth coming out. These are real stories. The natural trauma responses to the horror of being trafficked. You have the anxiety disorder, depression, behavior disorder, schizophrenia, epilepsy, and developmental disability. We have, obviously, once the person has reached some kind of control and some kind of happy medium, she's ready for pastoral, ongoing human development and economic. So she herself goes through schooling, vocational training, skills for getting a job and into work. And at that point, she can move into a flat, or if it's safe, because there has been reconciliation, if possible, with the family. If not, she goes into a flat as a safe place for finding her independence. Use this. Okay. And here we are in Romania, where we work in every country in Europe for trainings and for cross-border planning and action making for anti-trafficking work. And here we're working in labour trafficking, anti-labour trafficking, and there we learned about cyber trafficking and the agencies that change their names. Bulgaria, Romania, and men up to 50 sleeping in one room, one meagre, horrible room, changing from one ship to another into the same beds, horrendous situations. Yes, the traffickers are caught online, but it only takes 3 years, they're back again with another name. Workshop this morning all about internet and human trafficking. In our projects across Europe, we're doing a lot of work on internet and safe security. And I must say I was interested this morning that there was no mention of psychology. And for us, the actual work for awareness raising is first of all helping people to make good choices. It's not self-aware, and they're not helped to even interiorize their problems and their issues. They're easily going to be duped in the chat rooms. It's of reflective behaviour, of discerned choice making. So all of the work for safe security in internet is based first of all on safe choice making, good choice making, discerned choice making. The issue that we're into is advocacy and campaigning. Yes, about the law, corporate law, the Nordic model maybe, across Europe. But we're also saying, what about the laundering, the money laundering? Money. Who is actually used for slave labour? We buy Indian goods often, and especially in Pakistan and Bangladesh, we've discovered that some of our corporates are using cheap labour in your countries, in your border countries and in your countries. And really, this is where we've just got to work together. The English new sex trafficking law, anti-trafficking law, excuse me, is all about modern slavery. Corporates have got to be inspected. By law now, all our corporates used in Britain have to be inspected. In Albania, there is nothing like that. Across many East European countries, we are used for the slave labour that this is talking about. Follow the money means cheap goods, but who pays the price? Who pays the cost? We had a wonderful training in Palermo on border, in Spain, sorry, on border control and border trafficking. And Helen Moreno was there telling us about her work cross-border between Morocco and Spain, and the horror of the gang rape that was taking place. As the women wait for weeks and weeks, maybe years, to cross that border for safety. These are vulnerable, ordinary women trying to find a better life. And here they are being attacked in their vulnerable situation by traffickers who then bring in the men to the camp to buy sex. So all of us look globally, not locally, at our work in advocacy and campaigning to bring justice to the world and to give much better strength, stronger strength together to change law and to change situations of human rights when a person has the right to be mobile, has the right to cross borders, has the right to find a better life. And we can actually link with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a target for 2030 that our globe friendly will be equal between rich and poor, which will give equal rights between women and men. It is such a huge issue in relationship to trafficking and domestic violence. The SDGs need to be looked at. There are 17 of them, and we all need to wake up as NGOs. We're seeing this is where we have a partner. They are teaching us the way to go. And we need to look at these SDGs and see how we can, in our different situations, lobby the governments, councils, lobby the statutory systems to find justice and to follow this code of law that they're trying to bring in. And Pope Francis himself has said by 2030 to eliminate human trafficking from this planet. So Pope Francis has seen this. He's in union with the SDGs, with the United Nations, trying to make the world into a safer and better place for everybody. I finish with this wonderful picture that I use as an icon for myself. This is in Canada, and it's about drumming. And in Canada, we had an international meeting of the Very Board for looking at and discerning vision into the future. And at this wonderful meeting, we were each given a drum. And for a whole morning, we were taught how to drum. And in fact, we all had big drums, little drums, minor drums in terms of the width and the thickness of the skin and so on. And he just said to us, this teacher, drum, you drum. Listened. And amazingly, after a while I could hear this incredible harmony. It was an incredible harmony. And I stopped and I listened. And there in the center of 100 and odd people drumming was this man, the teacher. And he was just doing this. One rhythm, bringing harmony. And for me, in my reflection, mutual, loving respect is that rhythm. And if only we could hold on to that as a world, in terms of dignity and human worth, mutual, loving respect, then in fact, the rich would share with the poor. In fact, they would sit down together and eat. The man and the woman would see themselves as equal, with mutual loving respect. So I call on us all to really be that theme for all our work, our main passion, our main focus, so that what we do in advocacy, what we do in self-awareness, what we do in the grassroots rescue, rehabilitation and reintegration is all based on mutual loving respect. Thank you.
Excellent. Just detail about their intervention in Albania, Canada, and we discuss later. Next panelist, Mr. Simi Bhagat, Program Officer, Asia Council Directors Foundation. Please.
Have you any comments? Please. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I know this is a difficult time, especially after lunch. I'm sure you would have needed those drums here at this time. I work with Ngo'S And Cso'S Foundation. I've been here since yesterday, and it's wonderful to have so many organizations come from different parts of the world. So I've met people from Nepal, from Bangladesh, from various different parts. It's great that we are all working on the same issue and trying to find how do we kind of find solution to this complex issue. So since yesterday we have been hearing we have heard about statistics, we have heard stories from survivors, we have heard what government agencies need to do to tackle this issue. I attended a session yesterday on climate change and disaster, and how basically that is taking a toll, and how basically that is forcing people to kind of get into trafficking. So I'm really grateful for Mary Ward Social Center Kolkata to have organized this and to have given me this opportunity to speak about this issue. Talking about the role of NGOs and what is it that all of us here in this very room can do to tackle this issue in different ways. I'm really grateful that my organization, that is Ngo'S And Cso'S Foundation, has been taking the lead to work on this issue, and we are doing different things. We are doing multiple programs to kind of tackle this issue. In fact, as we've been hearing, we all know that this is a complex issue, and to tackle this complex issue, we need like comprehensive solution. We just can't afford to have piecemeal solutions. We just can't afford to work in silos. So I'm going to be talking about the work that Ngo'S And Cso'S Foundation is doing to tackle this. So we have 4 large programs, and we are largely funded by the Ngo'S And Cso'S business, and most of the funds that we get from the business and from corporate foundations and individual donors, we plow it back into these 4 programs, all of which offer solutions to tackle this issue of slavery and human trafficking. So we are based out of London, and we do not give out any grants, but most of the funds are invested back into these programs. The first initiative that we are doing, which is underreported stories. So under this program, we have journalists who work for Reuters, and they are based out of different locations across the world, and they report specifically on the issue of slavery. In India, we have about 4 journalists who are based out of different locations. One of them is based out of Delhi, 2 in Mumbai, and then 1 in Chennai. And they specialize on reporting of issues of trafficking. I'm going to be showing you a small video of one of the investigative stories that my journalist colleague Nita Baldashi had done on the issue of mica, and how basically children were being employed in mines, doing many deaths in mica. Sister Amanda mentioned about how corporations are, and we need to do something about them as well, and we need to make them as a stakeholder in this fight. So I'm just going to be showing a short video about this.
Margaret Christian's family took models of Muslims. That's a conviction of the Roland County Hospital.
बच्चे लोग को देने लेने में कोई खर्च नहीं है, कोई खर्च नहीं है, इसलिए हम लोग करते कि कल वो क्या हो जाएंगे तो आसानी से हम मजबूरी से हम निकलते।
So that was the story, Blood Mica, in which we basically the story looked at the issue of children being employed in mines and illegal mines being run. So every time we put on a makeup, and the shine that you get or the glitter that you get, it's thanks to mica. Or a shiny car that you see, it's thanks to mica, which is used in these products. So this was one of the stories that we did, and this led to a government crackdown on these mines, and this issue being investigated. Similarly, another story, which is drowning for sand. It was another story done by my other colleague, Rohi. which looked at how basically illegal mines. So in Mumbai, there is a construction boom that is happening. In fact, Mumbai, the real estate prices are so high that every day there are new constructions that are coming up. I wish I lived in Calcutta and I would have had to pay cheaper rates. So there is a construction boom that is happening, and which is leading to a lot of demand being generated for sand, and which is not being, I mean, which contractors are not being able to supply. So they are resorting to illegal means, and illegal mines are being operated, and people working in these mines are working in really pitiable conditions, and they have to actually manually go underwater. They have to dive underwater to get at sand. In fact, there have been many cases of deaths that have taken place for working in the illegal mines. And even this story led to a crackdown and government taking action against some of these illegal mines. Secondly, apart from the underreported stories, we have been doing a lot of work with media agencies and media development work, because we realize that they are an important stakeholder in this fight, and we need to work with them to be able to tackle this issue. We need to sensitize them. We need to bring them on board as well. So we have been conducting a lot of fellowship programs. We have research programs, and we have workshops for journalists in different parts of the world. Reuters Institute of Journalism, which is based in UK, where many of these programs are conducted. In fact, we also have many media programs for NGOs. With media, that's our strength. That's the strength of Reuters, and that is what we want to leverage by working with media agencies and by engaging with journalists. We have the Trust Conference, which happens every year around November. In fact, it just happened last week in London. So it's the world's largest anti-slavery forum, where we bring together corporations, NGOs, and thought leaders. Action points to eliminate slavery and to eliminate modern-day trafficking. It is attended by more than 600 people from more than 60 countries. So the idea of this event is to get these people under one roof and come up with specific action points. Action points of this conference. The first one was the Stop Slavery Awards. So again, as Sister Amanda mentioned, that we need to also work with corporations, because they are the ones who have large supply chains. And today, if you really look at the supply chains, no corporation can really claim that their supply chain is free of trafficking and free of forced labor. This issue, and we want to work on this issue, and we want to have them on board, because if we do not have them on board, then it's almost like a lost battle. So we want to be able to work with them, and we want to force them to and recognize this issue and take concrete steps to eliminate slavery from their supply chains. So we started this award last year, in which we recognize the work that corporations are doing on this issue in trafficking from their supply chains. And they are judged on, they apply for this award, and they are judged on various criteria. The committee of the panel includes Nobel Peace Laureate Mr. Kailash Satyarthi and many other dignitaries. In fact, one of the awards this year went to Adidas, who has been working on this issue, and they have been actively working on eliminating slavery from their supply chains. Similarly, as yesterday someone mentioned that this is the third largest illegal industry, and it's absolutely true. As per international.
Second largest now.
It has become the second largest. Thank you. So as per the ILO, this is 150 billion per year industry, and it's huge. It's huge money, and we need to be able to tackle with this issue. We need partnerships across different geographies. We need to be able to work in different parts of the world to be able to tackle this issue. So one of the other things that we are doing is we are working with banks, and how do we kind of assess, look at data, to look at suspicious transactions, and can we work with banks and can we look at some of the data and identify what are the suspicious transactions that can be reported agencies who can then take action on this. So we are working with some of the largest banks. We are working with Barclays. We are working with HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Mastercard, and different banks, and we are getting more and more banks to work with us on this issue, and they are happy to be able to contribute in whatever way they can to tackle this issue. At the same time, we also realize that as someone yesterday also mentioned, that the conviction rate on this issue is very low. We need to do something about that as well. So the third program is still under development, but we want to also work on litigation, and we can do strategic litigation to get more convictions, to get more compensation and get justice for the survivors, which can actually act as a deterrent and improve the conviction rates. Thank you. I just saw the board 5 minutes there. Thank you for the time. Okay. And lastly, the next thing. Lastly, Trust Law. And Trust Law is a program that I personally work on. I'm based out of Mumbai. Under this program, we work with law firms and who provide pro bono legal assistance to NGOs and social enterprises. So we have been working with a range of organizations who are working on different issues, right from organizations who are involved in trafficking related issues, who are working on that issue, to organizations working on climate change, environment, and so on and so forth. So if you look at pro bono practice itself, it is very popular in many countries like in US, UK, in Canada. But we are still a long way to kind of get there. In fact, some of these geographies, it is mandated by the law that law firms have to do pro bono hours. But still, we haven't, in India, we haven't reached that stage. In the last 5-6 years, we realized that law firms here are happy to do pro bono work for organizations, for NGOs who are serious about the work that they are doing. Because that is one way for them to kind of give back to the society. If you look at, I just want to ask this question to all of you here. So how many of you working for different organizations have hired a lawyer for any of your just have like raise your hand. If any organization has hired a lawyer for any of the yeah, please. Okay. 2 minutes more. Okay, thank you. Firms, generally NGOs when they work on, especially on trafficking related issues, you need lawyers to assist you on a range of different issues. So under this program, we work in about 175 countries, and the amount of work that has been generated is about 80 million US dollars. In grants, we are raising that sort of resources, making it available to the development sector. In fact, I just want to show a bit. Yeah. So do we all know about Rajwala and the work? They had used this. They had used our service, our Trust Law service, to tackle the issue of child pornography, because often we have been seeing that.
Yeah, a rape takes place every 20 minutes. Even worse, millions of videos and images circulate the internet, documenting these violent crimes. Social media to compare notes on their sexual encounters with young children. Their atrocious acts in front of the camera, while their victims are scarred physically and emotionally for life. Yet no legal or technical solution exists to stop videos of sexual abuse from being circulated online. And search engines have no legal obligation to remove or to report abusive content shared on their platforms. This is what compels Sunita Krishnan, one of India's leading human rights activists, and pro bono lawyers from India, Canada, and the United States, in a unique cross-border partnership. Together, they worked tirelessly on a mechanism that could hold tech companies accountable for the policing of their channels, submitted to the highest court in India behind a Supreme Court decision to create relevant guidelines for the blocking of videos of sex crimes in India.
It was February 2015. There was the concerning video being circulated on WhatsApp. There was this young girl of 12 years who was being raped by 8 men. These were videos of actual rape. And then to the Supreme Court, asking for accountability of the state. Also platforms that make it possible for such videos to be played. And the Supreme Court directed us to get a very comprehensive paper done on how have other countries taken the decision to block such sex crime videos.
Once it gets into the internet, there was no way of holding it back. Soon enough, there will be million views. So Dracula was looking to a system by which they could be curbed, reported, and removed instantly.
It was an ongoing matter, and there was immediate direct impact that was visible with our abilities that we could bring to bear.
This was the deadline. We were literally on a 1-week deadline. On the face of it, it looked very simple, but there were a lot of practical difficulties, and we had to look at other jurisdictions, look at mechanisms available elsewhere.
We were able to provide a memo of legal research on all provincial, federal, and state law, both in Canada and the United States. What was neat about this project was we drew in expertise, resources, and information from all different countries, working very closely with JSIR associates in India. An interesting element of the collaboration was the tight timeline with different time zones. So the global nature of the work really required everyone to pull together and work together in a very collaborative way.
I think the nothing more of the story is that we were taking on Google page. Microsoft, the big tech firms who are the regular clients that built a position against all these big giants, secretaries, and we have a mission to make this world more safe place for the children. That is what is so unique about this process that we did with JSR. And the note gave a very comprehensive understanding, which I think is a very important for us in India on what our legislation should look like to deal with this.
An expert committee was set up by the Supreme Court to go into the details of the various issues, and that this committee has come up and submitted its set of recommendations.
Of final directions in the court, I'm very, very sure that tech firms have been mandated by the law to be taking a very clear position and implementable action.
Sensible distribution of images and videos of sexual violence is an issue that's facing every country right now. We believe that the more that this issue rises to the forefront, the faster and more effectively a solution can be reached in order to prevent this type of conduct.
So as we saw, they used basically they looked at what are the best practices that some of the other countries are following to curb child pornography and videos of sexual crime being circulated online. I'm going to skip this in the interest of time. So is there a law that needs to be changed? Is there a policy that needs to be influenced? Do you want to know what are the best practices in some of the other countries? Or do you have any interesting issue that needs media coverage? The answer is yes. I mean, just shout to me. That's what I would be like. Thank you so much.
Do you have any bill?
No.
So that I need to know the duration. Okay. Thank you, Jimmy. There may be multiple questions later. Dr. Aditi Nath, Assistant Professor, Assam University.
Hello friends, a very warm good afternoon to all of you present here.
Take the microphone, please.
I am Aditi Nath, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, Assam University, Silchar. I am an academician. Let me be very clear to all of you. I am an academician, not a practitioner. I think perhaps we are 200 academicians and rest all are practitioners. Anyways, still I would like to, and today's presentation, my presentation on anti-human trafficking initiatives of NGOs in Northeast. Basically, in this paper, I am flagging the initiatives taken by the NGOs. Many NGOs in that Northeast to combat human trafficking. I have colored the initiatives with few of my observations and added few flavors to that with office suggestions. So this is Northeast at a glance. We have been sharing very many international borders. And the beauty of Northeast is that we have got 7 sisters and 1 brother, and the brother is a kid. And 7 sisters is this Assam, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Manipur, Arunachal, like this. 7 sisters, and now except this region has become the brother. But always we know this chant will be dark hota hai, and that's the backbone is the international borders. To these international borders, these are girls. Girls of these states have been traded to different other parts. Beyond that, international border it could be one of the reasons, and beyond that, this economic causes like poverty, unemployment, migration, all these factors already we have discussed and we are discussing. Social causes, gender inequality, violence, and corruption, and political causes it is there, like our states. To skip this part. So the need of the hour is that prevention. Ultimately, we are looking for the prevention of human trafficking has become the need of the hour. So most very big, and these are the pillars of this organization. Pillars who can prevent trafficking. Of these sectors already they have presented, they have shared their ideas, or they are dealing with the cases, and the NGOs that are consulted for much. Most of the organization of the Northeast they have been implementing Ujjwala project. I think you know Ujjwala is 4 components. All of you are quite aware about it. And one organization that Impulse, they have not been following not implementing Impulse or Ujjwala project of their own model of intervention. These are the 4 or 5. I think we some of the presenters when I was there in the 3rd floor, he was talking about 5P and 5R. It's not that so for government project is concerned is 1P and the rest. Under prevention, undoubtedly these are the like other organizations that have been conducting awareness programs that are forming Malika Balala Sangha as per the project. And these are the 2 sensitization programs organized by this mentioned NGOs. Consultatives, I should say, and rescue that perhaps you don't know this Bharati Welfare Development Society. We know very many international organizations, national organizations who are participants of this organization are here, isn't it? You are getting good exposure and other. That's what you are getting such environment which is very motivating you to render your best services. But NGOs like these belonging to backward areas, neither they are not getting support, financial support to render the best services. Despite all these constraints, they have rendered their services. And the rescue, this is one of the pictures of Bharati Welfare Development Society of Boracay, Sichakhaw. They have rescued these 2 girls and others are the office bearers. Next one. As usual, we have been providing the food shelter. This NGOs have been this livelihood generation program. Under this, they have been providing training on nutrition courses, training on handicraft, and reintegration. Like other organizations, they have been reintegrating the victims with their family members. All have been reunited after repatriation, and already few organizations that I would like to address you. NGOs that I have consulted working in the Northeast area, these days they are simply preferring to work on prevention instead of giving much time on rescue and this repatriation, reintegration like this. Many reasons are there that I will give. This is from my own observation that I will highlight definitely. So for this prevention is concerned, they have been working, they have been conducting awareness programs since the yesterday I have been listening, they are willing to involve panchayats. But the question is that if we don't get adequate response from the panchayat, how to mobilize them, how to generate the sensitization level, or how to make them aware the importance of the issue. That is that in rescue, what happens most of the time, as the chief functionaries of the NGOs assure that they don't get adequate support from the law enforcement, especially the police department. If any victim directly approach the concerned NGO, then the NGO, through NGO, the case is filed to the police of FIR like that. In such situations, they don't get adequate response from them. Otherwise, if the victim directly contacts the police department, then this NGO is being called for counseling to render the counseling services to the victims. This is the allegation made by the NGO people. The next one, rehabilitation. What are the problems that they've been facing is that most of the victims, after rescue, most of the victims, they don't agree to undergo this medical checkup, medical treatment, and improper activities of the victims in the shelter home. Most of the victims who are in shelter home, most of the victims are found engaged in different other mischievous acts. They are threatening of committing suicide. They will be committing suicide. They will file a case against the chief functionaries of the NGO like this. They will be hitting mischievous and they keep on going, and sometimes it becomes very difficult thus for the NGO personnel to manage the situation. And in such situation, inform their family members, they do not show any interest or lack of acceptance by the family members and the society. In such situation, the victims refer to go to have a halfway home. Many NGOs of countries, they have constructed halfway home. Victims camped there, but they have been facing very problems from security point of view. NGOs who are planning, they are thinking twice and thrice. So for the security is concerned. Next. My major observation. It is not new to all of you are connected with this trafficking. It's quite, you are quite aware about it, but my observation is that I'm now studying international borders, along with these factors, sure, and these days, trend has been getting changed. We used to say that people are belonging, a daughter of a poor farmer-based laborers, they don't have food, they don't have, house to sleep, this shelter and all, but this days trend has getting changed. Even the girls of Northeastern region outside seeking jobs, internationally they are, involving themselves in such kind of just to earn their livelihood and to earn huge amount of money within an hour and to enjoy all this Twitter, all this everything. Glorious this. We can say this is a side effect of globalization rather. And in Nagaland, it has been imposed that they have conducted a study, these lucrative jobs. Again, job to provide, that will be provided with jobs, that will be provided with education, better education. The girls of Northeastern region is getting trafficked. Yes, again, Arunachal Pradesh, a good number of children, minor children, that got trafficked with the promise of better education, trafficked to Kathmandu. In some cases, inside Northeastern region, they have been trafficked from Assam to Northeast, Arunachal Pradesh to Meghalaya, Meghalaya to Manipur within. This is for statistics. As per the statistics, Arunachal Assam has become the hub of this human trafficking, and this minors are getting affected badly in Assam, and so far this Northeast is concerned. Yes, my observation, few observations that I have drawn while consulting with the chief functionaries of the NGOs. Forming this CVG, Community Vigilance Group, Balika Balashamiti. And when I asked them how you are doing monitoring and observation, follow up this and that, they say that due to financial constraint, they are unable to reach that particular villages. Just after forming the CVG and Balika Balashamiti, they are over telephone, they are getting information how this is working and how this is not. All information of these groups will not may not be sufficient to sensitize the programs about the issue. Right? And most importantly, what I observed is that organizations that are implementing Ujjwala project, these project directors, specific projects, Ujjwala project. I'm not talking about the project directors or executive directors of this NGO, the project director who is heading this, who is in charge of implementing this project, they themselves are not aware of conceptual clarity. They don't have what is the difference between reintegration and repatriation. Prevention, rescue, and rehabilitation part, they're quite clear about it, but when the question comes to reintegration and repatriation, they don't. This is my simple observation. I think they need to improve this connect. And lack of information. I'm not talking about the other organization, I'm specifically talking about the NGOs belonging to Northeastern region. Lack of information about the other organization who have been working in the similar field. And since they don't have this information, sometimes they fail to ensure the support services from other organizations that will be beneficial for them to rescue the victims. Next. For guardians, this is one another I can skip almost all the slides, but this is very important when so far this notice is concerned. Minor girls is getting affected, and the school teachers, they are also not aware about the issue of trafficking, and the guardians, they too are not aware about the issue of this. That's what I'm telling. Let me come to the solution part directly. What I'm thinking is that first one for NGO the family. What they say is that they are ready to take very many initiatives, but due to fund crunch, they are unable to take this to materialize their plan. So this would be better if they are provided with financial support for NGO meet. So as to make them aware about the services of other organizations, how they have been delivering their services, just to fetch the best result. If we genuinely want to combat human trafficking, thanks for the project directors, workshop undoubtedly, and workshop for these teachers as well as parents that I'm targeting specifically. At home, mothers or parents, they need to be aware, and in the school, teachers need to be aware. The next slide. This one. Appointment, what I'm suggesting is that I felt the need of that appointment of school social worker at the school levels. Sometimes it happens that since teachers are not aware, even that due to fear or what, students they fail to share everything with the teachers. So if we can provide the services, we can take the services of a social worker or a counselor or a psychologist that will be effective ones. In the morning, I commented with the sir, he was talking about social casework. Since evidence to conduct evidence-based research, along with that group work is very, I think so, group work is very important for the victims who have been staying in the shelter homes to reunite them, to promote their motivation. Family therapy. This is one of the most important family therapy is that, I think so, sometimes this interparental conflict, distorted families, single mothers, they are giving birth to this. That's why it's better to follow on this family therapy and better to avoid such kind of conflict so as to ensure a healthy lifestyle. Thank you all. Thank you.
We have some keen interest in Northeast areas. We'll discuss in
the station. Now let me invite Tony Chomi,
Political Science Department,
English College, Nagaland.
A very good afternoon to all the ladies and gentlemen present here this afternoon. Thank you, Kolkata Marine War Social Center, for giving me the opportunity to present the trafficking in Northeast Nagaland perspective. And thank you, Kolkata Marine War Social Center, for giving me the double promotion. I'm an assistant professor. So from jumping from the associate to professor, I have been given the double promotion. Aditya has said most of the representatives, the social activists, the social workers, campaigners and all, and we can see only few of the academicians. I'm an academician, and I'm presenting my research paper from an academician point of view. Is the previous speaker has highlighted, and as you all know, the Northeast it consists of 8 states, which was highlighted earlier in the projector. I'm just going to read out my background. I'm not going to use any of the projector. So, though the Northeast has plenty of natural resources with biodiversity, hydro potential, coal, and oil reserves, and wealthy forest covers, economically, this region is still lagging behind states of India. And the compounding factor for increased human trafficking in this region is that it is surrounded by the international borders like China in the north, Bhutan in the west, Myanmar or Burma in the east, and Bangladesh in the south. Women and children are drug trafficking has increased at an alarming rate. Though drug trafficking is prevalent all over the country, the ratio is quite high in the northeast states, Assam being at the top. Cases of human trafficking in Assam usually takes place in the tea garden. Human trafficking in Northeast takes place between the states and across the border of Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Nepal. The reasons are due to poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, and traditional thinking about the women's section. The states like Delhi, Mumbai, West Bengal, Goa, Kerala, and even Arunachal Pradesh serve as the largest market for trafficked Northeast women. These women are sent to Thailand, Singapore, as bonded labor or a sex worker because of their oriental look. Poverty and economic hardship, unemployment, issues coupled with alcoholism has made most of the parents vulnerable to the lure of easy money in exchange of the girl's life the world of slavery across that nation for Northeast women who are trafficked into various strands with false thoughts. Among these, Assam has become the hotbed of human traffickers from all over the country. Children from the Northeast, mostly minor girls, are trafficked for being used as domestic helps in metros and are physically abused and sexually exploited as well. The geographical setting of Assam has made it more vulnerable to insurgency. Problem compounded with the recurrent floods has led to slow economic growth. The aspirations for better livelihood, the state of Assam has witnessed a large number of migrations to the mainland. The migrations are facilitated by the traffickers who introduce themselves as recruiting agents and entice vulnerable people with the promise of a better life. Coming to Mizoram, Mizoram state introduced the Victim of Crime Compensation Scheme to curb the evils of human trafficking. However, in spite of the good initiatives taken up by the government, the menace of human trafficking is still active in the state. This can be supplemented. In the year 2016, 8 tribal girls from Mizoram who were trafficked to Gujarat were rescued. Meghalaya. Human trafficking has penetrated even into the interior state of Meghalaya in the most infamous episode, which was in the Delhi temple of the Shillong Times 2017, a local politician who were supposed to be lawmakers, human trafficking. In most of the gatherings, hotels, and guest houses, it served as the meeting point for customers and sex workers. Tourism, which is the major industry the state has given an impetus to the growth of hotels and guest houses. Yet, the rate of increase of hotels is not in proportion to the inflow of tourists. In Nagaland, it is the source, the destination, and transit stage for human trafficking. Northeast states have become hotspots of human trafficking, and Nagaland has become a hub and a source for human trafficking. The reasons are met, for instance, ignorance, poverty, particularly in the case of young women and girl children who are enticed with easy money. Girls are lured with promise of education, lucrative job and other opportunities, and eventually end up in commercial sexual exploitation. There are several cases of interstate human trafficking which are unofficial and go unreported either because they do not want to expose it because of the social stigma attached to the victims or they are being ignored. Nagaland is not only a source state but also a transit point for human trafficking from India to other countries. Pangsa, which comes under the tourism district are in Nagaland, are the transit centers. Women and children from Assam, Nagaland, and Bangladesh are trafficked through the Pangsa, that is the international border, and then moved out to Myanmar and other Southeast Asian countries through the Golden Triangle. In Nagaland can be divided into certain groups. The first group are those who are much aware of the rights, but for the ones of luxuries and easy money as well as lack of employment in the state, they become victims of trafficking. They are sent outside the state like Goa, Jaipur, Bangalore to work in massage parlors where they are ill-treated. The second group are those below 18 years, particularly from rural areas that have the potential, capacities, and zeal to study, but because of the poverty and the lack of financial support for education, they become vulnerable to trafficking. The third group are the innocent victims, those who are trafficked and kept as domestic helps. The domestic helps are mostly from the eastern part of Nagaland. And the eastern part of Nagaland, there comes the 4 districts, and from the, as well as even from the neighboring states of Assam, particularly from the Dimasa, Kachari, Garos, and Karbi community, they are usually brought to Nagaland as the domestic helps. In Nagaland, huge demand for child domestic helps. Child domestic helps is promoting human trafficking. It has been studied and observed that Dimagru, a commercial hub, is a hotbed for prostitution. Nagaland is also a place where illegal adoption takes place. The reasons for thriving trafficking are mainly because of the ignorance of the people as well as poverty. Lately, the traffickers in Nagaland have taken a new route to trade. Nagaland is primarily a Christian state where people put their trust in organizations that call themselves religious. Of course, there are many genuine-based organizations that work in good faith and serve the society in the field of education, community development, and health. But again, there are some groups with fact-based organizations and individuals that take the advantage of people. The traffickers, well aware of the plight of the people, and operate in the guise of false missionaries and recruit children by luring them with false promises of giving free and quality education. Many poor families from rural backgrounds in Nagaland have been cheated through such acts of traffickers. For instance, in the year 2013, 8 children from Nagaland were rescued from an illegal children's home called Grace Home at Jaipur, Rajasthan, and the home was managed by a man who claimed to be a pastor. These 8 children were trafficked out of the state on pretext that they would be given with free lodging and food, but on which children were confined to filthy and unhygienic rooms, starved and abused emotionally, physically, psychologically, and sexually by the pastor. Nagaland is silently and gradually become a great concern of child labor as there is fast growth in children employment. Parents and guardians from the remote districts of Nagaland and rural areas send their children to the urban areas, mainly Dimapur, Kohima, and Mokokchung, and ties with the scope of better education and avenues of employment often exploited by the employer.
But actually, let me request you, nicely you're describing the nature, the modus operandi and source destination. But can I discuss, because there are only 3 4 minutes in our hand, and the internet sense. interest, no, we're describing the historical issues, the social, economic, cultural issues, etc., etc. Nice. But the interest is, because how will we get some time to discussion, that kind of discussion to get? Please.
Okay, I'll quickly get to those points. Thank you. One person goes missing, that is every 3.5 days, out of which of them are children. 100% of these victims of traffickers are never found again. To the long-run political instability, tribal indifferences, rural gap, urban gap, and the lack of conscious political interventions have made it difficult to utilize the abundant natural resources to work towards sustainable development. Shortage of employment opportunities in the state has also lured many educated and semi-educated girls from underprivileged backgrounds with the job offers in economic establishments, massage parlors, and find themselves cheated in the commercial sex trade in metropolitan cities like Bangalore, Goa, Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Kolkata. Coming to the suggestions from the study which I have researched, education department should also improve the quality of education, especially in the interior areas of Nagaland, so that more parents need not send their wards elsewhere for free education for children victims of human trafficking. Next issue, which cannot be solved only through the political point of view or law enforcement. This needs the collective coordination and efforts of every individual who get together, eliminate the problem, because trafficking is a complex issue which is a concern and a challenge in itself. Therefore, all the right-thinking individuals should refrain from using the word choice for victims of prostitution. One need not only sensitize and create awareness to the masses, but also create unity among the stakeholders, government, NGOs, and other law enforcing agencies to come. It is not only the consent that matters, but the collective efforts of all. Poverty, gender biasness, as well as rapid urbanization and low awareness are the main factors in human trafficking in Northeast India. So, action plans should be implemented to tackle this issue. Proper rehabilitation centers should be formed in an organized way so that trafficking women and girl child get support and proper counseling. To conclude, human trafficking is ethnically diverse. It knows no borders and barriers. It is happening to all the socio-economic classes. It is disgraceful to all genders and ages, regardless of religious affiliations or country of origin. The practice of human trafficking should be strictly controlled before it destroys our society. The role of religious institutions in the fight against human trafficking is also important. Why? Because religious institutions hold a great deal of influence in the society, especially in the Northeast region. Therefore, there is a need to mobilize religious institutions and utilize them as one to generate public awareness and indulge in community participation.
The last speaker.
She is also Department of Mass Communication, Assam University, but from a young age, I mean, already developed an organization. As a moderator, I request her to see that two artists. So we'll be more interested in hearing you about your own experience, your own ideas, your methodology of working. I mean, that will be aspect.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rajeshri from Assam, and today I am going to present, and my topic is quite specific because I am the co-founder of the organization WeDo. WeDo, the full form of WeDo is Women Empowerment and Development Organization. And now we are working with the tea plantation worker, and we are working in the Solitpur district, Assam. So from the previous day, we are already discussing what human trafficking is, how it is growing in our society, but I'll be more specific and I'll only speak about its impacts on the tea plantation workers. So, before proceeding, I would like to describe about the history of the tea plantation workers of Assam. So, tea plantation workers in Assam is itself based on trafficking. In the year 1839, the company Assam Tea Company was formed, and from then there was a recruitment of the workers from the other states because their colonial masters started to forcefully take land from the tribal people from the Tiwa, Boro, and Kachari community. So that's between the peoples and the tribal peasantry. So what they do, they have created a class which is termed as Sardar, and they order the Sardar to brought people from the hunger stricken areas of India by any means. So they used forced labor, they bribed them, lure them. They also told them that there is a better future in Assam, and through this process, they took people to Assam, and that the colonial masters, they promised them that the people can go back to their native places after completing their work for like 5 to 10 years. But what they do is like that, they kept them for their entire life. The situation of the tea plantation workers is not very good in this era also, because there is also because these people are not able to amalgamate with the Assamese society. Assamese people often call them half Hatekian, that means half prisoners. So already there is a equity complex among them, and there is a they use the Sanskrit language, which there is a language gap between the Assamese people and the tea gardens community, and there are other issues like witch hunting, alcoholism, which is very much there in the tea gardens community, which is making them very vulnerable towards the trafficking. So my organization, we are basically focusing on aware them about the term trafficking, because where we are working is the tea Korea. There is this is a tea state, and the other tea states like Naharani and Tarajuli. In these places, people are not aware about the term trafficking. They don't know what the legal affairs are. So, in our organization, we are basically 3 people. So we are trying to aware them about the term trafficking. We are trying to aware them how to lodge an FIR and what are the other legal prosecutions, or if the girl is missing from the community, how they can go to the police, where to inform, everything we are doing. In Assam, in the last year, there is around 170 girls are missing from the Teen Korea guideline. Okay, so another profile of the study is Sonipur is the second largest district of Assam, and there are various groups are there, like Boros are there, Christians are there, Adivasi is the largest community, also Assamese people are there, Nepali people are also there. The district is surrounded, sharing its border with Arunachal and Nagaland. So, we have conducted a pilot survey to know how to imply the legal policies. What is the right way? How we can aware them? So, we have set 3 objectives, like to study the present scenario of human trafficking in Sonipur, the legal awareness among tea garden workers, and to assess the challenges and solutions in implication of legal policies on trafficking. And apart from that, we are also focusing on media, like how media can help them, how we can use media to aware them. So we have used both qualitative and quantitative methodology. And for this pilot survey, there are 7 blocks in Sonipur district. So we have chosen 1 tea gardens from each district, and from 1 tea garden we have chosen 20 inhabitants.
Apart from that, we have also conducted focus group discussion, and the members of the focus group discussions were the various volunteers working in the NGOs, the Anganwadi workers, teachers who have better understanding about the people of the community, and also we have conducted a different focus group discussion with the youngsters, people from 11 to 18 years. And the activity was conducted in order to discuss about the common livelihood of the people of the community, their society structure, their dependence on media and law, different problems they are facing, the reason behind these problems, the opinions on human trafficking, and the opinions on legal literacy. What we have found that there are around 36% of the respondents belong to the age group 18 to 24 years in all the tea gardens. 23 belongs to the age group of 25 to 35. 22% belong to the age group of 34 to 44. And yeah, 5% of the population have completed their graduation, 21% of them earn below 1,000, 54% earn 1,000 to 2,000, 1,800 from 3,000 to 5,000, and 700 earn between 5,000 to 7,000. From the in-depth interviews and the focus group discussion, and also from the observation, it has been seen that as poverty is the main cause of trafficking in the tea plantation of workers of the Sonipur district. Because though the PLA, the Plantation Labor Act, is implemented on the tea gardens, but the daily wages of the tea plantation worker is 137 per day. That is in the Brahmaputra Valley, and in Barak Valley it is 150 per day. So also flood is a major cause where flood is a major cause, and this is also one of the reasons why the trafficking is very high in the tea gardens. There is a problem of witch hunting. In the focus group discussion, the people also discussed about the witch hunting is a major problem in the tea gardens, and there is actually conflict. As I have mentioned that as a society, the other communities that is present in Sonipur district, we are yet to accept Adivasi community, which is comprised of both tea garden workers and ex-tea garden workers. They are not accepting them as our society. They are something that communities treating, they are treated them like they are some outsiders. Yeah, till this era. So the ethnic conflict is very high. Recently, in after 3 years back, there is a conflict between the Bodo and the Adivasi community. Also, the reason of trafficking in Sonipur district. Illiteracy is one of the causes because after Plantation Labor Act, this too that the literacy level is increasing in the tea gardens, but it is still very low. And when we asked about their media dependency, most of the respondents, which are between 1 to 30 years, they speak up that they follow newspapers and television. And interestingly enough, they're still a wider audience in the community which still listens to radio. And according to the respondents, they are close to media. Media is accessible to all of them. And when we ask about the legal rights, they don't know about the fundamental rights, know any health rights, and they are completely unaware about their legal rights. Then, if the community has been well represented by the existing mainstream media, they pointed out that they are suppressed by media. The mainstream media is not focusing their issues.
Please. Another 2 minutes, please.
Okay, so we have seen that there is problem of alcoholism, the problem of domestic violence, the problem of beach hunting. It's like a network of problems where the trafficking is emerging. Because if a society where if a community is facing this much problem, they are poor. So obviously they will fall prey. They will be victim of the trafficking because traffickers are looking for easy options, right? So what the tea garden workers has become easy options, and I have to mention this that the tea gardens have two kinds of workers. One is temporary and other is permanent.
So permanent workers work throughout the year, and temporary workers, they have to go outside in the off season. So what happens? The traffickers come to the tea gardens. They promise them for a better life, for a better job, and they take girls from the tea gardens and they sell to the other states or the other community. So for prevention, awareness is the only way, because what we think that we have to work from the root, because yes, we can go and ask them like you should do this, you should do that, but the people have to know themselves what are the consequences of trafficking. Okay, they have to know if some girl was missing, where they should go, where they can file a complaint. So that's what we are doing. We are interacting with them every week, small group, with small groups, and each day we are teaching them where they should go, how to file a FIR, etc. So, in this, lastly, I would like to say media has a very large role to play in prevent and combat trafficking, because media has the power to craft public opinion. Especially if today, even if we see that social media campaigns are also increasing. Like recently, the Me Too hashtag has taken place, and it is quite it is in the social media, and media have a liability to ensure that investigative journalism on human trafficking should be promoted. And trafficking is an issue that can be solved by a bunch of professionals if we work together. The media persons, the social workers, the academicians, all. We have to together, and especially a community like tea gardens worker, because they are already suppressed. They are the root of these workers are itself in based on trafficking, so they are very timid. So we have to uh, take a long-term plan to aware them about trafficking, and this is the first step. And further, we have to take various legal policies which are this community friendly. Yeah. So, at last, I would like to say we youngsters have to come forward, because, yeah, trafficking is a problem that cannot be solved today. But if we took a pledge, like I'm from mass communication, someone from social work, but if we work together, the youngsters especially, because already people are working together, but if we youngsters work together, we can do something, because always there is a hope. Maybe after 10 years, maybe after 20 years, maybe after 50 years, the trafficking can be eradicate from the society. And with this hope, I would like to conclude and thank you for this opportunity. And it's very nice that we are meeting all here, and it's like creating a network. So thank you. With this.
Just 20 minutes. That's fair. 3 papers. We have done little injustice to the panelists, because the last session we could afford 20 minutes, sometimes more than 20 minutes. But I have been given a dictum that participants need to be there in the hall sharply by 3:30. So it will take another 5 minutes from here to go to the. So I have to finish by 20 to 3. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel sorry for the panelists. However, we can take up few questions. Yeah, yes, please. Right. Introduce yourself. We can pick up. And to whom you are addressing this question? Okay.
Dr. Tony.
Since you are talking very strictly on the girls from Northeast, and you mentioned about the massage part. I would like to know that have you or anybody noticed conducted any study earlier of girls going for this trade and why are they going? What are the socio-economic background? Because what I can share, I stay in Gurgaon. I don't know how much idea you have of Gurgaon. On just the road where I stay in Gurgaon, so the road, 150 massage parlors. Okay, and 80 to 90% girls from Northeast or Nepal. How many? And there's no study. There is no information. Once in a while, police would round up one of the massage parlors, arrest a few girls, and they are all hiding their faces and going like this, and camera clicking photo. Next day, you see the newspaper that one person. But on that very floor of that mall, there are 18 others. So it's only one specific to some information.
Junaid sir. So it's not a question. You are supplementing, you are giving additional information.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So that's good.
Yeah.
I think.
Totally to respond, please.
Any more questions?
Wait here. Please wait.
Any more questions, please?
Okay, that will take up. But if you have very specific response,
all right,
then you get it.
See, massage parlors are not to be taken in a negative manner. We all know that. People are misusing it.
Okay.
So recently, apart from Gurgaon, from Rajasthan, another girl was rescued from the massage parlor and then was brought back to Nagaland. And some course of rehabilitation and counseling has been going on taking place. That's it. Just be specific. We can negotiate, communicate, collaborate later on that because I have to keep the interest of time.
Yeah. Okay. It's a completely different view. Yesterday, the keynote speaker made a similar references. Look at the dance bar. Okay, that's a very good reference. Okay, yes, please.
I'd just like to add with I think, sir, you asked for the study, whether any study has been conducted. Yes, fine. That the study, and during my deliberation, I already mentioned that a study has been conducted by an NGO, right? An NGO. Because government departments, they are taken as initiative. And NGOs, they are taking initiative but not getting support from the government. Anyway, the finding of the study is 80% of the northeastern girls are being trafficked for sexual exploitation and 20% for forced labor. And the findings after this study of the findings.
Okay. Dr. Nath, that's a good information that you have given. The source has to be country. The trafficking for commercial exploitation is about 1/5 of the trafficking of forced labor. So it is just contrary. So we'll have to. It's a good information. We need to collate. We need to discuss it. Any other question, please? Please. Dilip? There are many good exponents in working the NGOs. Please come forward.
Actually, in Kolkata, we have seen Topsia, these are the area, the children coming from different state of Bihar, Jharkhand. They come for the child labor purpose. So how we could combat this child labor as a child trafficking purpose?
This session is on interventive role of the
They are trafficking for the child labor.
What are you doing?
So what will be the role of the NGO?
You belong to an illustrious organization. You can enlighten us for 2 minutes.
I'm asking that question.
Yeah, not
the answers. I need the answer from the part analyst.
The question is, Kolkata characterized by urban street urchins, child labor. However, how the problem of child labor in an urban setup could be addressed? This is the big question. Anybody, you can also answer. Yeah, sure.
I can only give a comment from Tirana and from the Ukraine. And in Tirana, what is happening is there's a big network has been set up in Tirana that it covers all the NGOs all over the country. Because child trafficking is really bad in Albania. It's, we have something like, and remember we have a small population, 17,000 children begging on the streets or being used for petty crime. CE.
Begging on the streets?
Yes.
There is no law.
There is a law against it, but I'm afraid implementation of the law is very weak in our country. So what is happening is OSC and Test has linked in with this big network to do this exploratory research in order to lobby the government to implement law, and consequent to the pushing to the government that doesn't implement law very well. In fact, the police are now involved in taking the children off the streets. And this is a very sad situation, really, because we haven't got the systems in place for adoption or for foster care or for proper homes for these children. So what you've asked is, for me, a very difficult question to answer effectively, because you've got to have everything in place to implement law. And in weak countries where there's very high corruption, it's very difficult to implement law. The police get very overwhelmed and often get involved in the crime.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Also,
yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My question is to Ms. Jayashree Madam. So I am working in Kolkata and NGO, but I'm basically from North Bengal. Tea garden based my home, North Bengal. So what I found there, the conditions of tea garden in North Bengal is very much dangerous and very rigorous conditions, and this is happening due to closing of tea gardens and
Closed tea gardens
and malnourished. They are very starvation problem. So what is happening? We are seeing that the number of children are going out for work and they have been migrated in traffic. So what is the role? What role should we play to probably the NGO? What are the role of NGO CSO?
Okay. That has been well discussed by Dr. Nath. Even that is any one or two specific closed tea gardens. Okay, tea gardens, closed tea gardens. Okay, that was it, please.
Can you be specific? So what
in our, like your Sonit in Sukia, board is characterized by tea gardens. Many of the tea gardens are closed. Many of the children are living away. I mean, just missing. So, what could be the possible, plausible measures for?
Yeah, see, in Assam, the closing of tea gardens is not a problem, but since you are asking, because what we can do is like, first we have to talk to the management, okay? Because before closing the tea gardens, we have to make sure the management provide shelter homes or some other places where the children can go, or they manage other works for the tea gardens worker, because they are already poor, okay? So if like that, they are going to be more vulnerable for trafficking. So we have to talk to the management first, because they are already under an organized sector. So first we have to talk to the management to provide their home or provide some places where the children can be kept, or where they have to go to the school or something like this. First management have to take.
But the actual situation is not even different. There's problem with the management and government level. So what we're trying is, especially I was engaged there in the NGO, but the situation is different there, because not government is providing, but management is providing with that workers and that. So that helps them to bound them to migrate and for in search of work, and then
who are these children?
Then tea garden workers, laborers.
Are they engaged in plantation work?
No.
They are Workers' children.
Yeah, workers' children.
Okay, I guess. Okay, I'll come to you, please.
So I think tea gardens will become again another thing, because the tea garden sector, as we know, is all the workers, the laborers in the tea garden are mostly Indian. They don't belong to the area. The tea garden, I mean, they have lots of laws and all, but I think only 40% of the laborers are permanent. The rest, though they may be working for generations, they are casual. So it's a very complex situation, and it is true there's a lot of trafficking happening through the tea gardens.
That's a good addition. I just tell you, Assam, in the Dibrugarh and Tinsukia, these are the two districts where in the plantation, the highest concentration. I request Rajasri to speak to Assam Chai Mazdoor Association. I would like to request you to speak to Amita. Amita, what is their role? In your paper, you did not discuss about the Assam Chai Mazdoor Association, and Amita is a very renowned and very well-established organization. And the people on the other side of the tea gardens that you have mentioned, 80, 100 years back they are settled, as Madam said. Many of them do not possess even the voter ID card. Okay, so that's the problem in the tea garden. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, please.
Radhika.
Yes.
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, please.
So there were two questions. I just wanted to ask about the role of NGOs. So like I mentioned in my presentation, we have journalists who are located in different parts of the country. So if you as an organization have very specific instances of trafficking happening or any sort of child labor happening, if you know of any specific instances, you can come to us. I can connect you with a journalist there. Although they are very independent and they take their own call whether they want to do the story or not. But I'll be happy to connect you with them.
Okay, it's a wonderful opportunity. Yes, please come. Just 5 minutes.
This is Payal Mukherjee from Justice and Care. My question is based on today's topic, that role of NGOs and CSOs. I really want a suggestion from either of the panelists, whoever will be free to answer me to this. That is, which Dr. Nath you have, I really felt really good that you have slightly covered, that is involvement of Panchayat. We are always for prevention of human trafficking. I specifically work in the community, poor community, where we always sensitize, because there is no other option left to sensitize and aware. In one case, it's a personal experience and it has, we are still suffering. We cannot move forward. That is, if we all know that in ground community level, government stakeholders are existing. Just the opposite side, I'm sorry to say, it's really bad, feeling back to shaping, also a part of Bengal. That is, government stakeholders are equal, I mean, that is the opposite coin of criminal network or anything like, I mean, towards that, malpractices. So in that case, if any Gram Panchayat of that community, or maybe a Gram Pradhan of that particular community is like this, not convinced, request or a lot of, I mean, just to know about how we work, just for the good sake of the community, even though if he is not a brain, being an NGO worker, our way of penetrating to the community. We have failed, let me tell you this, we have failed taking permission from the higher-ups, his higher-ups, even from the DL, but we have failed. So what can we do in that case?
So the bureaucratic rigidity, how to come across this bureaucratic rigidity. Okay, anybody?
Can I respond to
yes,
that?
Sure.
In our NGO, we made a decision to train not just the staff, but all our beneficiaries and leaders of our project groups, which is men, women and boys. We work with men, women and boys in trafficking. And we train them in broad-based organising. And broad-based organising stems from a man called Saul Linsky, In fact, President Obama was trained under as a lawyer, and it's about community organising and bringing the power of the numbers together on one particular issue that you want radically changed in your community according to the law and the implementation of the law. And little by little, it's quite incredible how little changes are beginning to happen by large numbers in village communities are beginning to speak out against injustice in their local situation. So I would encourage everybody to start working at civil society organising, start from the bottom to get change at the top.
That's good. Okay. Please, supplementations?
Supplementation.
Okay,
Just this is very important.
Just
See,
40 seconds.
At a community level, every time if you go as a, if you go and say, okay, stop trafficking. So no craft attack or no head is going to listen. And I experimented this in last year in a program.
Where?
All over the world. North Chowbis province, South Chowbis, Harbour 1 and 2, we did this in 100 villages. We brought mass projects. You have to take up real social issues like education, for example. You can have a large scale education program where you will have to cultivate a large team of workers and then train them into intervention.
Which is what workers?
This is Ahmedabad's child education.
Why the outside organization? Because we have a robust education system in our
city is doing it. No, still there are large.
Wherever we have a structure in place.
Yeah, so that structure is a supplementary program to education. Because home tuition is not there in villages. So when children come from school, they need supplementary education.
No, sir. We have more than 8,000 primary schools in our country.
Those half those schools.
Teachers, 1 to 30 teachers are good.
Okay. Yeah. I believe these schools are failing. That's why children are reaching and they are getting in the hands of trafficker. So I'm just giving an example. It can be any other program. It can be health education.
I would just like to say, just 2 minutes. That is, I am talking about the incident in South Chowbis Pargana which recently happened, and of course we didn't go to say that we want to prevent trafficking. We know that, and we went with the health organization for mother and maternity health and all that. So over there, literally, it would also say we had to come back halfway of our survey because we were on the gun point. That we will shoot you if we see again here.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay, why it cannot be organized? Because Dilip has a different experience.
Working here, all the projects were closed. They said if you work in the remote part of the village, we will kill you.
Okay.
No. We can't do that.
Okay. Actually, we have crossed. Now it's my role. Just a minute. To convey my gratitude, my thanks to the Madam Simit, Jolie, and Adusti for making wonderful presentations, and some good questions were coming up. The time is a matter of constant. We'll have to go down and we'll keep on interacting with each other. I will advise the conference secretariat to create a Google group to have constant interaction. I had number of questions to Madam. Okay, I'll try to do that in the tea period. Okay, yeah. Okay.
One last question, sir, because I feel it's very important. Yes. So we have, in terms of trafficking and in terms of our government is doing a lot. AHQs are being made, but in paper, not in place. We have a lot of PLCPCs, CPCs, as per the ICPS. The question is, what do we do? Like, I mean, yeah, as NGOs, we are, building all these mechanisms, putting all these mechanisms in place. But government is like, the funding is not coming in place. So how do we even work for this such a big thing?
That's a big problem. Funding for strengthening these systems at the grassroots level is a major problem in our country. Okay?
Excuse me, please. Can you please give me 2 minutes? I won't take much time. I would like Professor Joydeep sir, if you can kindly hand the certificate to